it was fully covered in trees and brush. So I actually dug out by hand a lot of stumps, like a lot to make this garden. I was toiling really, really hard the past year and a half. And I learned one of the strategies I used is Epsom salt. So I'll drill holes in the stump and put Epsom salt in it, leave it for about 8 weeks. When you come back, the stump is like really soft. It's like it'll turn to dust if
Huh.
you leave it long enough. And if you keep refilling it too, like I'll kind of come back whenever it rains and refill it. And yeah, it gets down into the roots, makes it really easy to pull up. Some of them were harder than others. Some of them I had to like leave for the season and pull them out in the fall. But I had a lot of fun with it. It's extremely hard, but like I really like hard physical labor. So I really liked pulling up stumps. It was a good activity last year.
This is the Farm Hop Life podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRosier. On the Farm Hop Life podcast, we learn what it takes to grow your own food from everyday people. Could be a college student, grows tomatoes and salad greens on their apartment patio, a former VP of marketing for Del Taco now raising cattle in Montana, or someone who hasn't had a homestead in over 10 years. This show is aimed at teaching you what it takes to make homesteading work for you, that we all make mistakes, we all have bad days, but we can reach out and help one another thrive, and giving you the confidence needed to go feed yourself. Good morning. It's not too often I have a morning interview, especially at 5:30 in the morning here. So
it's not too often I'm even awake this early. I got to see the sunrise this morning though. It was nice.
Is that unusual for you?
Yeah, I'm like a nighttime person for sure. I
Gotcha.
usually wake up right about now.
Gotcha. So you're in Eastern Canada, right? What do you do up there?
Chill out. I have to. So I'm from Ontario originally, Ottawa, the capital of Canada. Kind of a fairly big city. And I'm used to a very different pace of life. Moving out here has been really interesting. So I mostly relax. I chill out. I do work. I do like marketing and admin, work from home, work from RV. And
Work
yeah,
from RV.
yeah, I live in my 1990 Pace Arrow. It's an old shitbox. Lots to replace. You can see there's like a wall panel that's been replaced back there. I need to do some more work this spring. Got to do the floors and everything. And yeah, I grow food. I snowshoe. I chill out with my cats, sit in the hammock. Yeah, getting used to a slower pace of life and the homesteading life.
How long have you been at this current place?
I have been here since November 2021, so about a year and a half now.
Okay. What do you do for heat? I'm assuming it's wood heat, where like inside your RV.
Yeah, I got the wood stove back
There
there.
you go. Nice.
Originally, so when I first moved out here, I had a cubic mini wood stove. Um, too small, too small. Like it
Really?
heated it mostly, but it only lasts like maybe 2 hours, maybe if you're lucky, like an hour to an hour and a half with that tiny little firebox. So this year I replaced it with like a full size wood stove. So I'm super toasty right now.
Because I was gonna say I've heard really, really good things about the cubic minis. I wonder if it's an
Yeah.
insulation issue.
It is. It is. Like, this is a
Sure.
glorified styrofoam box. Like, it is not well insulated at all. There are, yeah, a lot of problems with insulation underneath as well. My biggest qualm with it is just like how long the fire lasts. Like, it doesn't last through the night at all. Which is the biggest problem because like I could have probably done most of the winter with the cubic mini and I didn't mind it for the first half of the winter. Like I really put off installing the new one. But then we had a weekend that was like minus 45 and I was like, I should probably put in the
Oh,
new one.
jeez.
That's going to be rough with the cubic mini. And even with the big stove, it got down to -8 inside.
Holy
Um,
smokes.
Overnight. Yeah, it was pretty intense. So I'm glad I switched. But I didn't mind it in terms of heat. The first year was rough, supplemented with propane heat. I hated that. I was here with my ex-husband for the first year. And yeah, he couldn't stand just the cubic mini. But this year I did fine with it. But yeah, it doesn't last through the night, which sucks. It sucks to
Just
wake
had to
up.
throw in that flex, just like, yeah, he's kind of a little whatever about it, and it was fine. I brushed it off. I'd sleep in
Yeah.
the snow.
You kind of skipped there for a
I
second. I didn't
was
catch
gonna say
that.
I'd sleep in the snow if I didn't get so wet.
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, like I could do it. I've done a good amount of winter camping. I did okay with it. Even this morning, I woke up, it was 0 degrees in here. It was okay.
I'll
I'm
just
used to
I'll just kill a tauntaun and sleep inside that.
it. Exactly. Climb inside.
That's really funny. So you're like you moving from Ontario to where you are now. Like it seems like you're in like the middle of the woods or something in a bus, kind of like Into the Wild style.
Yeah, pretty much.
How did you? So like just a change of pace. Like how did you really get over there?
It was a
Seems
lot of
radical.
things. So I kind of always knew I was supposed to be here. I don't know why. I called it the prophecy when I was a teenager. I just had this like inkling that I was supposed to end up in like this exact spot on the East Coast. I had never been here before. Like I'd been out to the East Coast. I've been to New Brunswick, PEI. But I'd never been here specifically, but I just knew, like I looked at a map and it was kind of a whole bunch of things that stacked up and I was like, I'm supposed to end up there. Because when I was a kid, I just knew I wanted to do homesteading. I don't really know where it came
Parents
from.
didn't
Like
do it. Grandparents didn't do it.
not at all. No.
Hmm.
Like I grew up in downtown Ottawa. Like I was a city girl for sure. I was kind of an indoor kid too, so I don't really know where it came from. I want to say I could be wrong, but I think the seed was planted because I was playing Harvest Moon video games and I like
I loved
really
Harvest
got
Moon.
into that. But as I aged, like it just sort of seemed like the only thing that made sense to me. It seemed like the only way to live. And so I knew that that's what I wanted to do someday. And for some reason, I knew that it was supposed to be right here on the East Coast. I don't know why. But then, life happened. I kind of built a career that required me to be in the city. And I started thinking, I don't know how I'm going to really get out there. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
this dream is ever going to come to fruition. And then the pandemic hit. And I was kind of the type of person, I had like a lot of volunteer jobs, multiple jobs going on, always just out and about. I did like a lot of stuff in the art scene in Ottawa. And so when we couldn't leave the house, like I had nothing to do. Like I was used to very like hustle and bustle. And my life kind of came crashing down on me a little bit, like
I can see
really
that. Yeah.
for a while. And then me and my ex-husband, we did a lot of camping. We did crown land camping, which is like a thing in Canada where the land is like owned by the crown. I have a lot of feelings about it, but it benefits me in some way because you can go camping out there for free. So you can just
Sure.
find a spot, set up. And we did a lot of that. Technically, we weren't supposed to. Like, you're supposed to be inside and not going camping legally, but we were out there. Like, I'm not going to stay inside. I'm sorry. So we did a little bit of winter camping that year. And then we went out for my birthday in August. And it was that trip. We went up to Northern Ontario. As we were like staying inside, I kind of got really into like eco building and just like dreaming of something like building a house, getting some land, doing something. And so we went up to Northern Ontario to kind of like scout different places we could maybe move. Went all the way up to Cochrane, Ontario, which is kind of the furthest you can go on the road. Beyond that, there's a train that goes up further, but there aren't really roads. And for some reason, I thought that was going to be like the place. Got up there, very uninhabitable in the woods. Like the trees are like this, like a deer couldn't even get through them. It was dark. It was like really kind of gloomy and unpleasant. So we stayed there a night and then immediately got up early in the morning and went a little more south. And then we found this great spot by a lake, did some fishing. It was a very strange trip. I learned about giant water bugs that trip. I don't know if you know about these. They're like this big. They got big
No,
piglet
I
arms. Oh my God, they're so
really.
I saw it. I was like, oh, cool, giant bug. I later found out they have like venomous bites, pincer things,
What?
and hurt like heck. Giant. I've never seen a bug that big in person in the wild. Also had like a motorcyclist show up to our campsite in the middle of the night looking for his keys. Like, it was all just a very strange trip. My ex-husband was thrown off by it. I thought it was great. I was having an awesome time. And there was just something on that trip that clicked where I was like, I can't stay in the city anymore. Like, I need to be out here. I need to be out in the woods. So I went home a week later. I bought the RV and I said, come hell or high water, like, we're getting out there. So the original plan was to drive around Crownland spots and just kind of like guerrilla garden, forage. I'm really into that kind of thing. But the RV was looking harder and harder to fix up. Like, it does drive, but would it pass an inspection?
Right.
So we were considering options and we had fixed up some of it, but we were thinking, what do we really want to do? And we started looking at bits of land. And I said, look out on the East Coast. Like, I have a feeling, I've always felt that I'm supposed to end up there. And then this piece of land was there, dirt cheap. And I said, let's do it. Like, why not? So bought it really quick. I bought it about 2 years ago now, and it took about like 6 to 8 months to get out here. And yeah, I could not stay in the city anymore. I said, like, no, we're going out in the winter. I don't care. Like, I cannot do another winter here. So we came out in November, did the whole winter, was really intense. And yeah, that's how I ended up here.
That's crazy. It must have been like your ancestral DNA was just like screaming at you or something, just like, get out of this concrete jungle. What is this even?
Exactly, yeah.
This
And I
is
actually
not where you
ended up
belong.
finding out, I don't know my biological dad that well, but apparently he's from out here. So it's like, oh, there's like a connection here. Maybe I like felt this stirring in my heart, calling me to this location.
That's funny. So you said you got into like eco homes as well. So do you have plans for the property? Like, I'm gonna live in an earth ship or something.
I did. I was thinking log cabin. The area where I'm at is pretty flat, so I kind of wanted to do like a Wafati style thing, which is like an earth sheltered home with like thermal inertia, but it's too flat for it here. So I was
Sure.
thinking log house, considering different options. I'm still kind of like on the fence about it, but like last month I was thinking maybe I just want to stick to the RV for now, because eventually I do want a bigger property. This is only a half acre. Like, it's really
Okay.
small. I've got a bunch of forest attached, but like I can't build on someone else's land. I can go forage and take their maple syrup, but I can't like build a house. So I'm kind of on the fence about it. I
You're
do
that
want
neighbor.
more. Yeah. There's like nobody around anyway. It's all like, dirt pits, industrial. So I don't think
Dirt
anyone even
pits.
knows I'm out there. There
That's
is
funny.
like, I own a section of ATV trail, and down the trail there's this big dirt pit that actually there's a company that dumps a bunch of peat moss that they can't sell there. So I got to fill my whole garden with like reclaimed
Holy
peat moss.
crap.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy it because of the sustainability issues, but like if it's there for free, like hell yeah. So that worked out great
Right.
for my garden. Pretty much the whole area is like that. Like, there's so much I can just go like grab stuff, like tons of wild blueberries. I have like a huge harvest, and the syrup and everything. Like, and everyone out here is just on that vibe where you can just kind of do what you want. So it's like pretty sweet. But yeah, so I was thinking like maybe I want more garden and growing space, and I'll stick to the RV and not build the cabin and aim for that on a bigger property in the future. I don't know, but that's where I've settled now.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm also into like alternative building methods, and one of my favorite ones is rammed earth. And I wanted
Mhm.
to take it was like a week or 2 week course up in Canada where they make the walls like 2 feet thick or something and have like styrofoam in the middle and all this stuff. Man, that would be like my dream home would be to have a rammed earth house. Just I love the way it looks. Um, I mean, it's just engineered sandstone for anybody that hasn't seen it before. It looks amazing. So
Yeah, it does. It's beautiful. And I
yeah,
considered like an Earthship style thing too. And I think if I were to do the Earthship, I would do like, instead of the tires, do like earth bags or rammed earth or something like that. Because the
right.
tires, I hear a lot of people have like off gassing issues with them. So I was like thinking of creative ways to do that. I'm still kind of into that. I love the Earthship design. I think that's super cool. It's very popular in like this sort of area. Like Quebec loves Earthships. I don't know why.
Have you been in Wufati?
I have not been in one, no.
Okay,
I'm, like, very fascinated by them, though.
I'm assuming you've heard of Paul Wheaton.
Yeah, I actually work for
So
Paul Wheaton.
you worked for him?
I work for him now, yeah.
Oh, do you really? That's
Yeah.
fascinating. What do you do for Paul?
I'm one of his assistants, so yeah, like, marketing, admin, that kinda thing.
I did not know that. So you're the ones that send out the emails like, "Here's a tiny ad," and then, like, that's you?
Sometimes, yeah, mine
Hmm.
actually went out today, so you can
Hmm.
read from me.
How about that? Uh, so I've been to Paul's place.
Oh, really?
Stupid internet. He's not that far from me, like 2 hours or something.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, I've been to, like, his, like, Wufati and, like, toured the whole property and everything. It's pretty cool. It's cool out there.
Yeah, yeah, obviously, I know a lot about it. I've still never been, but, yeah, I'm, like, real into what he's doing out there.
He should fly you out just so you can get a feel for it. I mean, like, it's only to his benefit, right? Just
Yeah, and I'm sure he would. One of the other assistants did invite me to come do cooking for one of the events, but I'm not big on traveling because one of the things with COVID, I have kidney scarring, so I'm like pretty high
mm,
risk. So I'm like kind of avoiding traveling in general right now. Otherwise, I totally would,
sure.
especially like cook for an event. Hell yeah, why not?
Yeah, we had wood-fired pizza out there with one of the rocket mass stoves.
Yeah,
It was nice. Like up on a
yeah,
mountaintop basically. It's cool.
love that. I want to build one this year. That's in my plans.
Yeah. So it looks sorry with your mug, it looks like you're drinking beer this early in the
It
morning.
is a beer mug. Yeah, it's iced tea.
Could have lied. Yeah. Or like I'm drinking straight maple syrup or something.
I actually did that yesterday. I like had some maple water in there.
Good. That'll pick me up. It's a different kind of pick me up. So so tell me about your garden. Uh you've been at this property for a year and a half. What's your garden look like?
Yeah, garden's pretty big so far, and that's one of the big things I got kind of attention for on Twitter, which was really cool. Because for me, it's like, it's just what my heart calls me to do, and I posted, and people were like, "Wow, it's so amazing! You can grow this much food and just like do it. Just go out there and do it." So the garden is about half the property if I count like the orchard space. And I did a bunch of raised garden beds, like huge raised garden beds. I think because I knew I had access to all the like discarded peat moss and the dirt at the dirt pit, I was like, I can do as much as I want. I can fill these garden beds. Um, as high as I need to. But it's a lot of work to pull dirt up and down a trail and mix it with compost and shovel it in there. So that was like a little over ambitious, but it's huge. I have like a big 25 by 15 garden bed that's like you can like go in and around it.
Okay.
Very space efficient. I got the inspiration from that from that chestnut guy, the one who plants the chestnut trees. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh shoot, the name yeah, I don't remember the name, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he posted something about like raised garden bed designs, and I was like, oh my God, genius. So I designed this kind of based on that. And then there's like an addition to that that my ex-husband was growing cannabis in that's like higher up and really big. And then I've got another one beside that that's like I want to say like 8 by 10, maybe a little bigger. Um, and then I have all the in-ground beds as well. I've got some 4 by 4s, like 4 of those. And then I'm going to add more raised beds for brassicas this year as well. And then I had like a patch somewhere for like squashes and stuff, probably like 5 by 8-ish. And then I kind of just, I don't know, I do whatever my heart calls me to. So there's like a big empty stump out there that I've turned into like a planter with mint and stuff. And so
That's cool.
everywhere, all over. And then the orchard space, still very much in its infancy. Obviously, I've only been here a year, but pretty tiny for an orchard. But I've got about 6 fruit trees out there.
Nice. What are you growing for fruit trees?
Apples, pears, and then I've got like a butternut tree as well. I don't know how well
Okay.
that's going to work out. The nursery I got these trees from, I don't, beautiful place. I loved going there, but all the trees had issues, and I'm kind of worried that the butternut has canker. There was like some very concerning things on it. And then the pear trees had pear blister mite, and then they all came with green aphids on it, and it was a whole terrible adventure. But yeah, that's the plan. And I also have a crabapple tree, Dolgo crab apples, which are edible. They're so yummy. I had some last year. It fruited. That was awesome. Everything else, I don't know how well it's going to go. I'm a little bit worried everything's going to get girdled by voles right now. One of the trees definitely did. So I might have to replace some of the apples, but
Oh no.
it's my fault for not protecting them. I knew I had to, and then I didn't do it.
How would you protect a tree from voles? I'm curious.
My plan was to just like wrap some chicken wire around the base, but there are some different strategies people use. I wanted to do bone sauce, but apparently that does not work well for voles as much as it does for like deers and other nibblers. The
Hmm.
voles have been a problem. The voles are like my nemesis out here, I have to say.
Yeah, because couldn't they just like go underneath the chicken wire, or do you like lay it down like on the ground so they
I would
can't?
like wrap it kind of tightly around the trunk of it.
Or like an inverse cone?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Okay. And I was thinking about that stump. Like, if you don't have equipment, like I'm assuming you don't have a tractor or anything, so that'd be a lot of unnecessary work to get the stump out. So you might as well just like utilize it how you can. I like that.
You know what? So this land there'd never been anything built here. It had never been cleared. It was like fully treed. A lot of them were dead trees.
Mm.
The people who owned it before us, they took down a few trees and made like a little U-shaped drive-in so they could put their camper, but like it was fully covered in trees and brush. So I actually dug out by hand a lot of stumps, like a lot to make this garden. I was toiling really, really hard the past year and a half. And I learned one of the strategies I used is Epsom salt. So I'll drill holes in the stump and put Epsom salt in it, leave it for about 8 weeks. When you come back, the stump is like really soft. It's like it'll turn to dust if
Huh.
you leave it long enough. And if you keep refilling it too, like I'll kind of come back whenever it rains and refill it. And yeah, it gets down into the roots, makes it really easy to pull up. Some of them were harder than others. Some of them I had to like leave for the season and pull them out in the fall, but I had a lot of fun with it. It's extremely hard, but like I really like hard physical labor. So I really liked pulling up stumps. It was a good activity last year.
Hmm. I've never heard that before. People pour all sorts of stupid chemicals to get rid of stumps and blah
Exactly.
blah
Yeah.
blah when they can just be using. I've never heard of the Epsom salt being used that way. That's interesting.
Whenever I tell anyone, they don't believe me, but I swear by it. It really does work well if you do it
Hmm.
like soon enough. It works.
Sure, sure. But that one stump, you're like, I've had enough stumps. I'm not doing that one.
Well, that one was kind of pretty. Like it was a tree that had fallen and it was all hollow inside. And I don't know, the way it like sat there, I said, I'm gonna keep you. You're very pretty.
That's fair. That's you're
And
like
it's like the way it's centered in the garden too. It's like a nice little centerpiece. I like
nice little centerpiece. You put Christmas lights around it
it.
just cuz. Just treat it nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's my friend.
So why did you do raised garden beds there? Just because like so the existing soil conditions and then adding in the peat moss and compost and then just easier on your back, like easier to maintain or
Yeah, easy on the back. Like I do have the in-ground ones. I have some pretty big in-ground planting areas, and the soil definitely needs some work. Like I think I expected more organic matter than was actually in there, just because the whole garden area before I put the garden in there was covered in like 3 feet deep of brush and like detritus and leaves and stuff. And so I thought that there was going to be a lot of organic matter worked into the soil already. There was some, and it's like very spotty. Like certain locations are more waterlogged or more full of organic matter than others throughout the garden. But yeah, I just kind of wanted a mix. Like I knew if I did raised garden beds and I filled them myself, I would definitely get a harvest out of that. And I was right. Like the in-ground garden beds last year didn't do great.
Okay.
They're not like super compacted, but they're not like super loose either. And the nutrients in the soil are definitely lacking. The soil out here does not have a lot of phosphorus. That was a challenge I ran into. So yeah, everything I put in the in-ground beds, while it did grow, didn't grow great. Like I had pickling cucumbers out there and then pickling cucumbers in a raised bed as well. And the difference between the two was like really remarkable. The pickling cucumbers coming out of the in-ground beds were like oftentimes yellow. Oftentimes they would get like round or misshapen. The leaves were a lot smaller and paler. The beans I grew out there were garbage. Like you would get like 2 pods on a plant, and yeah, very pale leaves. So a lot of things didn't grow great out there, but I used that opportunity to kind of see what weeds come up, what like native plants will grow on their own, and then save seeds from those and just experiment with that. So that was cool as well. And has really inspired my like planting strategy for next year. I want to work in a lot more native plants. And so seeing what just grows on its own was very cool. But the raised beds did help me like actually get a really pretty substantial harvest for first year. So I'm glad I did it.
So, man, I lost my question. Shoot. No, I can't remember what it was. It was something about, nope, it's gone. That's all right. So what other things have worked well for you? You have rabbits?
Yeah. I initially wanted to get chickens first because I really like eggs. I eat a lot of eggs. But I'm kind of creeped out by birds, if I'm honest. Like they're dirty and kind of creepy and weird. So I
They are
think
very
like
dirty.
yeah, they're very dirty. And like I don't have running water. So that was like a problem for me.
Mm,
Um, but it was like right when I moved out here, I just had this thought of like, why don't I get meat rabbits? Like I had never ever thought about this before. I don't know even where it came from or what inspired it. But it kind of like baked in the back of my mind as I prepared the garden and was like, oh, I'm gonna have to get chickens at some point this year. Never ended up getting the chickens, but I did get the rabbits. Fortunately, there was a woman about 15 minutes from here who breeds Angoras and meat rabbits, like a California, New Zealand mix. Um, and I was really excited by that because I saw she had accidentally, one of her Angoras escaped and impregnated one of her meat rabbits. And so she had these mixes that she was trying to get rid of. And like, I saw that and was like, that's really
right.
cool. I want one of those. And actually, I want to mess around with that more. So what I ended up doing is getting a mix buck. And then I got an Angora buck as well. And then I got a New Zealand, California doe. And I want to kind of play with the genetics a little bit there and breed for the furs because the mixes, the half Angora, half meat rabbit, they have like really nice thick skin. Apparently, like it tans really well. There's a place that tans hides about 15 minutes from here as well. And she drops all her hides off there. And they were like, these are amazing. Like, these are the best you've ever dropped off. They're really easy to flesh, really easy to tan, which is unique for rabbits. Oftentimes, rabbit furs are a little hard to get. The skin is kind of thin, but they have really nice thick skin. So, yeah, I've been trying to breed for the furs, which has been really cool. But of course, one of the benefits of having rabbits is the manure is like really great. You can just put it right in the garden without composting it. So that was really exciting as well. And I've really enjoyed the meat. So that's been a very cool experience. And I'm excited to see where that goes in terms of the breeding.
So you're just going kind of wild with the breeding of the rabbits. You just like, here's this freak thing, and there's like another freak thing. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. I
You get
like
good
the
rabbit fur.
first litter ended up being the doe is like completely black self coloring. And the buck is like a beautiful cream fawn coloring, and I really, really
Hmm.
like his fur. And somehow the babies they produced, she had 11 babies in this litter. Every single one was completely black. As they grew up, some of them got
Hmm.
like slight white tips. One of them that I'm leaving for last has like a kind of a cream tip, and I think that's really cool. But I want some different colors, so I'm gonna do another round or two with that buck, and then one of those babies I'm going to grow into a breeder and mix in more Angora until I get like something cool. A couple of this litter turned out like really big, beefy ones, like the buck that sired them, I guess. And beautiful furs. Like I just slaughtered one the other day, and like very easy to pull
Slaughtered.
down. I'm like, if I can get more big chonkers like that, I'll be pretty happy.
So, a little bit blending your homesteading with your living situation being in an RV. So like I remember my question, by the way. You said you were trying to grow pickling cucumbers in both in-ground and raised beds. So how do you can anything? Like do you can like can you do it? What can you do in your RV? Like it's got to be like limited.
Yeah, it's pretty limited. I have to say, like, not having consistent refrigeration and like running water, like those are big challenges. Did do some canning, like water bath canning. I would like to this year build an outdoor kitchen. That was something I wanted to do last year, but
Mm.
things happened and didn't get to it. So I'd like to build something kind of rockety. I do have the plans for like a rocket forge slash canner, and I'd like to do like pressure canning. As well as like a rocket oven and everything out there. I'd love to do more dehydrating. I really think dehydrating would be a good idea out here. But I also want to build a root cellar. I'm considering like a Wafati freezer slash cooler,
Hmm.
something like that. But yeah, it is fairly limited. Like all I could really do was dry beans and water bath canning for pickles. I did a couple different types of pickles, but yeah, it's not ideal, that's for sure. And especially with the temperature fluctuation during the night times in the winter, like I worry about some of those canned goods. Every now and then I'll hear like a jar go bing, and I'm like, I don't know where that was from, what that was. I'm maybe gonna avoid the pickles in the fridge.
Oh man, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Then for your water, do you have to go like get, I don't know, 100 gallons at a time, 50 gallons at a time, and like
I
go get some
do
and haul it
about
back?
20 gallons at a time. There's a spring near here that produces like really beautiful
Okay.
water, like probably the best water I've ever had. So I'm very happy about that. I'm obsessed with it. It won like awards and stuff. It's really good water in like a
Really?
international water tasting competition. Yeah. So that's just like
Hmm.
up the road. So I can get it at like any of the local stores, and I do. So I have about like 20 gallons on hand at a time, which is like pretty adequate. I think it'll be tougher in the summer. One thing is like I don't drive. I never learned to drive, so living in the middle of the woods is a challenge. So I can't just like go out and get more water. I do have to keep some on hand, and I do think that'll be probably not as much as I need in the summer once I have to start giving the animals like fresh water instead of snow. I've been giving them snow through a lot of the winter, which they're doing really well with. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'll
You're
have
just
to.
making them really hardy. You're gonna have the hardiest
Exactly.
rabbits of all time.
There's like a meat rabbit group I'm in on Facebook, and somebody was like, you can just give them snow. Like in the wild, that's what they eat. It'll make them really hardy. And some people were very offended by that. They were like, no, these are domesticated. Like they won't last with that kind of thing. But mine are doing great. So,
Hmm.
it works.
Nice. Do you have a bike then, or do you just walk everywhere?
I walk. Yeah. My neighbors are like very nice. It's a very like kind community around here. So they will help me out, grab me things or drive me places. I'm dating someone who lives about like 2 hours from here, and he'll come every weekend or so, and I'll go do errands. But for like I was out here for a month without leaving the property. Like, I don't have to really do a lot. Um, Mostly like thank you to the good graces of my neighbors. Like, they'll drop me off water and stuff. That's really
Hmm.
helpful. Um,
That's
but yeah,
rare to
like
find community like that.
yeah, it
You like
is. Like,
hit
I was
like
really
all there's
shocked.
like I don't know, there's like 10 things that people look for in like a community and property, and it sounds like you hit like a lot of them. So,
Yeah, like, and like my garden beds are all done with like free or super cheap slab wood from local mills and stuff. And like my rabbit hutches are built with cast off wood from one of my neighbors. He just dropped off like a huge load of like random odds and ends of wood that he had. So, like, I get stuff for free all the time, whether it's scavenging it or foraging it or like being gifted it. Like, a very supportive community out here. And like even the neighbors, they're like, so many of my neighbors have been like, wow, your garden beds are so cool. Down at that dirt pit, you can get some really good peat moss. And I'm like, oh, I know, I am well aware. But we're all kind of like on this like secret vibe of like, as long as you don't say something, you can go take a
sure.
bunch of dirt from there.
That's awesome. That's really, really great. Like people work I mean, they like work like their day job really hard to in order to just buy the stuff that they need when they could work almost equally hard to just get it for free and then still save, their money from their day job when you make it seem so like so easy, just almost effortless, like things just come to you.
Yeah, they really have. Like I'm just constantly surprised by it. Like every time I kind of need something or I'm a little bit worried, it seems to just show up at my door or just like appear in my hand somehow. It's been like very fortuitous. I don't think many people are this lucky in their homesteading journey, especially like, yeah, the way I'm doing it is pretty intense, pretty tough. There's a lot that is not provided for me. So it's funny how much like is provided for me. Like literally yesterday, I was just doing my work and everything. I'm really swamped with work right now. And my neighbor just showed up at my door and brought me like a whole lunch meal and like did not say a word. I like didn't even respond to what I was saying, just shuffles away, gives me like chicken and vegetables. And like they're
No
just very
way.
kind people here for real.
Hmm. Wow, that's because when you're saying like, yeah, I just wandered into their woods and like get like maple syrup from their, or I guess sap at that point, but
Yeah.
from stupid internet. That I was like, do they know? Do they care? They must know, right?
Most of them know. Like, I think the people who own the forest next to me are either loggers or they're just like never there. They don't use it.
Gotcha.
It's like completely wooded. So I don't know that they're even like paying attention necessarily, but like, yeah, the permanent neighbors around here, we all kind of know each other and know what we're up to. And like everyone kind of gives each other tips on how to like skirt the law a little bit when we need to. So it's
That's
kind
what I
of,
like to hear.
yeah, it's like this like known secret.
Yeah, it's kind of like you gotta put a little bit of time in before they can trust you, I'm sure. And then it's like, hey, by the way, like you seem cool. Let's over here is a thing. I'll bring you some lunch.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
nice.
like I'm surprised by how quickly they trusted me too. I didn't even have to put that much time in. Like
Hmm.
the neighbor who brought me lunch yesterday, how I met him is he showed up at my door because he thought that there had been like a string of thefts around here. And a couple people had stopped when they came by on the ATV trail to like warn me, like, my catalytic converter got stolen right out my yard, or someone stole my ATV like right from my house in the middle of the night. Like, these thieves are bold, just like watch out. So right when I moved here, there had been this string of thefts, and one of the neighbors thought that it was us. So he shows up here like banging on the door, thinking that we're like thieves. He thought we were like an old friend of his he had heard was living in an RV nearby. And then we open the door and he's kind of shocked a little bit. He's like a little bit suspicious. Are we the thieves? I don't know. Started kind of a weird, like slightly adversarial relationship. But then really quickly he was like, oh, welcome. Like they're just very, very welcoming people here. And then he's like, do you eat pork? The next day he shows up with some pork from his pig and like
Hmm.
invites us over for Christmas dinner and everything. So it's like, yeah, once people realize you're kind of like on a good vibe, I think also because I'm like really rough in it. Like I'm living the lifestyle that's typical out here, but like on 100, like they look at me
Sure.
and think I'm crazy. They're like, why don't you hook up to the power grid? Like this is insane. But because they see I'm on that vibe, they're like, okay, you're good people. And we just kind of, yeah, just melded into a community really fast.
I think when people do see, like, when hard work is shown, just they have kind of like a, not so much like a, oh, bless your heart type of thing, but like, respect.
Yeah,
You're doing
exactly.
it. You're doing it the way you want to do it. That looks really hard. That's not for me. Uh, I'll throw you some lunch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and we all kind of know like if one of us needs help, if we need to get some work done or whatever, like we'll jump in and help out. Like one of my neighbors, this old man too, helped build the driveway. And he's like
nice.
he looks old. Like I don't know how he even like did all that work, but he's like hauling big buckets of dirt and chopping down trees for me, stacking things. Like everyone's willing to like pitch in and help out if you're on the vibe. It's a very cool attitude out here.
That's awesome. What what's some stuff that hasn't worked for you? Like, tried this thing, fluttered, wow, failed miserably.
Um, yeah, a few things. Well, melons, first of all. I tried growing a couple melons that did not
Melons.
work out
What
as well.
zone are you? Like two and a half?
I'm zone five-ish.
Okay.
I
Oh, you
don't
might get some of
believe
the
that
warm
it's
air
zone
from
five.
the ocean.
Yeah, but it's also like this is like the coldest part of the ocean up here. Like
Okay.
I'm pretty north. There's like maybe 2 months if you're bold where you can go swimming because like the waters are frigid and the cold winds coming in from the coast are like intense. So
Is
not a
that your
lot.
line? Is that your line? Like, I'll live in a bus at -45, but I am not swimming in that water.
I still will. I'm like down for it. Got
Okay.
like my Wim Hof breath and everything. I'll get in
Okay.
there. But yeah, it's tough for sure. I'm not a big swimmer as it is. I kind of just sit there. So
Just then
I'll go
float.
out as early as I can and just kind of like it's good for the body, good for the immune system. I'm really into
Sure.
like Nordic thermal cycling. I don't know if you know anything about this, the like sauna and then the cold plunge thing.
Okay. Yeah, you cycle between. I see.
Yeah. So I'm kind of into it. I like it. I won't go swimming for long periods of time for sure. But yeah, there's not a lot of like the temperature regulation. And I don't know. Apparently it's zone five. I really don't believe it because the growing season is extremely short. And that was my challenge with the melons, as well as a lot of things. Like I can't start seeds indoors really because it gets into like minus temperatures sometimes indoors overnight at the end of the
Right.
winter or midwinter. So like I can't really start seedlings. I have to direct seed most things, and it's a very short growing season. Um, like back home in Ottawa, it's zone five too, but it's like you can plant like a whole month earlier. That's a lot more time to be growing. So yeah, there are some definite challenges with that. And yeah, definite challenges with like the soil that I'm working with. There was one thing that really did not work out well for me. And I'm trying to remember what it is. I almost forget the failures a lot of the time because everything out here is an experiment. Like I really don't
Sure.
expect anything to work. So if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, well, I just focus on the things that do work.
Would have been
Um,
nice if that worked, but hey, whatever.
yeah, it would have been cool,
Yep.
I guess. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There have, yeah, been challenges. Everything's a challenge. I think a lot of the building things have not happened the way I wanted them to yet for a number of reasons. Yeah, the RV has been a challenge. There have been many failures in here. Hard to pin them down. It's just, yeah, unique to the lifestyle that I've chosen, like no running water, no consistent heat, no electricity. There are a lot of things that just like don't work out how I want them to. It is
Right.
what it is.
Yeah, the climate for sure. Like you might be in zone 5, but your microclimate is probably like maybe like zone 4 or even like 3 something, 3A, 3B. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
having a whole month like shaved off of your growing season, that's a big deal
It is. Yeah, like I
when it's
can't
already
plant
limited.
until like June 15th ish. Like
That's
that's
about what
wild.
I'm in zone 5 as well. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, short season. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, even like in the best year, you get like maybe 100, maybe 120 days of growing,
Mhm.
and that's it. You better There was one time we had an early it got like warm early in like mid-May,
Mhm.
maybe late May, and my wife was like, "Should we, everybody's planting in their garden. Like when you drive around, you can see people are planting in their garden. Like, should we plant?" I'm like, "No, it's too early. We're gonna get that like our last frost date is early June."
Yep.
And so sure enough, frost came in early June, and like I don't know if it just like toasted people's like tomatoes that they planted or whatever in their gardens, but yeah, it was worth the wait. Like
Yeah, I
Mother
had
Nature
that
will
last year too. It was
yeah.
like shockingly warm for like what it is historically here. And I was like, should I? Shouldn't I? But everyone says the full moon in June. So I waited and I'm glad it did because like 2 or 3 days beforehand got that last frost.
Hmm. What's the full moon in June? I haven't heard this. What's
I
that?
don't know. Everyone says plant after the full moon in June. And last year
Hmm.
it was like pretty late. I think it was around June 14th. So I planted most June 15th. This year it's a little bit
Hmm.
earlier. So we'll,
Um,
we'll see
I'm
how it goes if it's accurate.
gonna have to remember that one. See if that rings true this year. Like,
Yeah, pay attention to it. I'll be interested to
I'll
see if
put I'll look up when the full moon is here, and then full moon, and then see how that correlates with the last frost date.
yeah,
Hmm.
do. I think it's like June 4th or something. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
it's earlier this year.
Do you Just complete side note? Do you follow any other like astrological like some things with the plantings of like the your planting season or anything, or is it just like no?
Yeah.
Just do you? Are you into
Yeah,
that?
I do. I'm pretty into like astrological things in general, especially the moon. Like I
Okay.
really like pace my life based on the moon. And I do pay attention to like astrology in general. Like I don't know if this is like an off-color comment, but a lot of my friends are lesbians and lesbians love astrology. So I've like
Okay.
learned a lot over the years.
Just secondhand. Like what are some other? I guess when I said astrology, I also meant like a mix of like astronomy. So like it could be like in either camps, and I'm sure like we pissed off both both sides there. But I'm curious what other things would play into your growing season using either astronomy or astrology.
Well, a lot of it's like foraging stuff. I really like foraging, especially berries and stuff. I could spot a berry from a mile away, even if it's not fruiting yet. Like I can see the plant. I'm like, oh, there's going to be raspberries here in a couple of months. Really good with the
Mm,
berries and the foraging. And like the June full moon is referred to as the strawberry moon. That's when you start seeing like wild strawberries, stuff like that. So I pay attention to that for foraging purposes. I have kind of spots that I've seen in the woods that I know to come back to around that full moon. Because all the full moons, they have like names basically, like
right.
not traditional names, but like you've heard that the strawberry moon, the wolf moon, that kind of thing. And those kind of point to
Super blood moon or whatever.
yeah. Well, super blood moon is like a an astronomical event. But like the monthly moons, well, not monthly,
Sure.
there's 13 of them in the year, but like they each have like a special name that often refers to, yeah, like what you'll find in the woods around that time.
Hmm. Hmm. That's interesting. I do not pay that much attention to the cycles of the moon, but maybe I should. Maybe I should.
I think you should. I'm a big fan of the moon. Me and the moon were friends. We talk
Me
a
and the
lot.
moon are friends. That's funny. Maybe now that I know, maybe I'll be aware and be like, maybe there's something to this.
You'll notice.
Just keep
You'll
that in the
start
back of
seeing
the
wild
mind.
strawberries, and you'll be like, "Oh, the full moon just happened."
So what's been I know we talked about failures, but what's been the biggest challenge that you faced in homesteading on this property?
Again, a lot of the things that are just kind of unique to the lifestyle that I've chosen. So, yeah, like no running water is really hard. And I have to figure out a better system than I have now. The pests, I think, have been the biggest challenge. Like the pests out here are pretty crazy. I think I've heard that this is like kind of pseudoscience and not super proven as real, but I don't know if you've heard of this like bricks thing of the soil quality and like lower soil qualities make it easier for pests to like be attracted to the plants and like eat at them.
Okay, I have heard that like if you have like a healthy soil, like everything's balanced, and so like there isn't this invasion of pests. Like it's like the Goldilocks zone, right? It's not too much
Mhm.
this, it's not too so
And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. Like if you have a
right.
healthy ecosystem, obviously it's going to go better with pests. But yeah, there's this concept of like the bricks that a plant can like absorb, and if it's like has the nutrients it needs, then it's less attractive to pests in theory. So that's kind of my theory of like what's up out here is that the soil quality is not as good as it could be right now. Because it is wild. Like I didn't even know there were that many kinds of aphids. Like I've
Mm.
had the green aphids, I've had like these black and white spotted ones. I've had like the brown ones, the black one, like so many different kinds that just like decimate a lot of the plants. And then like the leaf miners are a big problem. I had what are the not gnats. Something was eating my grapes. It was, yeah, there were just like a lot of problems. And then the voles, and then the imported pests from the nursery that I got the trees from. Like, it was hard dealing with them all. But ultimately, like, there's not much I can like really do about it. I do prefer to use organic or permaculture inspired methods. So I'm not going to go like, get a spray and just get rid of them. I kind of want to just sit and observe and see what I can do to encourage like the natural systems involved. So I've learned a lot from that. It was like a huge challenge and definitely causing me a lot of grief at some points, but it's also given me the opportunity to see like if I leave the weeds to grow, it distracts the pests from my actual crops. So like can I kind of leave some of those in strategic locations or leave as many as possible that aren't in my way and use that to my advantage. And then I can often use
Hmm.
those seeds to feed the rabbits. And so I'm kind of creating slowly like more of an ecosystem, like with whatever was eating my grapes. I read that pirate bugs are a natural predator to those, and they often like daisies. And so I went and I picked some like wildflowers that had bugs crawling all over them, and I just kind of left them near my grapes, and it worked out. I don't know if it was actually what I did that made it work out, but like the pest problem stopped. So just kind of
Got to
like
be something to it.
yeah.
So, what would you say is the best part about just the freedom of like being able to do what you want?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, the freedom, the creativity, like, I can do anything I want, pretty much. Like, the area that I'm in too, there's no, like, real zoning restrictions. You can really do whatever you want for the most part, and people in this area are really on that vibe too. Like, people just do whatever they want. They'll paint their house whatever color they want. They'll have garbage all over their lawn. Like, if it's, like, w what they wanna do, they do it, and so I do it. I just like get into the vibe and like build whatever I want, grow whatever I want. And I can come up with some really like interesting and creative ways to just like grow the homestead or go out and forage and have fun. And like, yeah, like, it's been a tough winter with my divorce and everything, and I haven't been working as much as I would have liked to. And so money is low, but like, I live in an RV in the woods. Like, that's not that big of a deal. So, like, there's this amazing amount of freedom that I never really had before. And I love it. I couldn't go back.
I think also you've chosen to work from home, which allows you said that you like sit and observe your garden. I think being able to like, that's almost like a luxury when you're growing things, whether it be plants or raising livestock.
Mhm.
You can just you have more time to sit and observe and like notice certain patterns of things, whereas like a lot of people, they they're like weekend gardeners basically. Like they have to, all the crap that happened during the week that kind of got away from them, they have to catch up on the weekend, and it goes back to all the crap during the week and then catch up on the weekend. Whereas like you can kind of be in it every day and interact and observe. That makes a big
Mhm.
difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, my garden doesn't need a lot of babysitting and care. I mostly try and do like pretty like permaculture-y type techniques that are very like leave it and let it grow. But permaculture techniques, and I think just like, my life philosophy and my values, like, necessitate that sit and observe. And so I'll go take my laptop out in the garden and do my meetings from there, and I can see what happens, what birds come by, what pests, whatever is happening. And I learn a lot from it, just being able to go out. Like, in the summer, I go and forage, either in the fields or around my garden or whatever, and feed them to the rabbits. They don't really have pellets as much in the summer. They have like a little bit to supplement, but like, I'll get like a bag this big and that'll last me like a whole
Hmm.
month because they eat just whatever I pick for them. So 3 times a day I go out, do my little rounds, and like, imagine how much I get to see and learn just in those 3 times a day during the
Yeah.
day.
Whereas like, you know, like I work outside the home. My wife is home with like two kids, and so like we're both got like busy things going on, and so so I set up a deer feeder to dispense chicken feed 2 times a day. And so like that, like, yes, that's convenient, but it also takes away like that observation of like, hey, how are the chickens doing? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, I haven't been out there all day because I haven't had to. And so it's almost like counter to what you want. So I don't know, I'm still developing like my own systems. Like, does that, is this actually beneficial, or am I just lazy?
Well, laziness can be good, I think, on the homestead. You got to conserve
Sure,
energy. So,
that's
like,
true.
certain things, if you can automate them, why wouldn't you? But also, it is nice to just like experience it. If you build all of this and then never actually go out and just sit there and enjoy it, like, is it worth it?
I
It's all about
do like doing, like, I can only sit and like look at the chickens for so long. Like I have to be like working around them. Like that's kind of like my observation, and we can see them from the dining room. Um, just look out your window and like, oh, that one kind of looks funny. Like, is that one okay? It's kind of limping or something, and
balance.
you go look at it after that. But last weekend I had raked out. It took me a while, but I raked out all the deep litter from the chicken coop and had to like get it wet and then pile it up and uh, pull out some more wood chips to get that wet and then make a big pile and then tarp it. So that was me like working in and around the chickens, kind of like observing, but also like doing
Mhm.
something. And then so I can create like this really nice compost. So like I'm looking forward to checking it this weekend, pulling some back and putting my hand in there to see if it's hot.
Mm.
So like that's probably like my favorite part is seeing if what I've done all year it's has created like good compost for the growing year, like
Mhm.
for like when we're coming up. So
I feel that compost is so exciting. What a like rewarding, and
Yeah.
I mean it's labor intensive sometimes, but it's one of those things that you kind of do while you're observing other things. So it's this nice like side benefit, you know?
Yeah. I took a picture last year where I was like, what is this white stuff? Uh, kind of like in my garden bed. Like, what is this? And someone's like, that's, I don't know. I can't remember what they said. It was like mycelium or something like that. Some sort of like fungus. They're like, that's really good. You want that? I'm like, oh, because I got like loads of it. And like I pulled back some more and it just like penetrated, all the way down to the garden bed. So it's got like I got good fungal growth in the soil. So
That is good. Yeah, having a fungal
whatever I
dominant.
was doing is working.
I feel that. The soil out here is very fungal dominant, which is like super exciting to me. I'm very into fungus. So when I see like, yeah, the snow mold or the like white patches in the soil, I'm like, this could be good. This is
Yeah.
fun.
What would you tell people that want to get started homesteading or living in an RV or moving into the woods? All of it.
I would say like if it's something you truly want to do, just do it. Like I think a lot of people they dream of it, they aspire to it, they have kind of this idea in the back of their mind that it would be like something really cool for them. But either one thing I see is that people are not actually prepared for it. Like I see in the local homesteading group so many people who just like they don't do their research. They just have this sort of homesteady dream and then they go out there and it doesn't work out for them. And within a year, they have to sell the whole property because they got too many animals to start with,
Mm-hmm.
more than they could manage, or they didn't actually know they suck at growing a garden and they didn't do any research ahead of time to like learn how to do that. So like definitely like be prepared, but there are also so many people that I know who have these dreams to do something like this, but with the way the economy is, with the way life is sort of set up to trap you in cities and trap you in the system and these cycles, like they're never going to break out of that unless they do something really radical. So that would be my advice, is like take stock. Think about like what could you live with, what could you live without. I don't think a lot of people could live the lifestyle that I'm living. To be fair, most people are not going to be happy camping 24/7 and not having running water, but like think about what you can live without. Like, can you strip this dream back to its basics and build from there? Because that's the only way you're going to get there. Like all these people who buy their house, they move out here from Ontario and they've got their Ontario house money. And they
Or
get like,
Ontario house money.
oh, it's a big thing out here. Everyone's pissed about it. It's like properties are like really expensive there. And so they've got all this money and they come out here and they drive up property
Same
costs,
thing here.
big
Exactly the
houses.
same
And
thing.
there's a lot of bitterness about it, which I get. I feel like I'm exempt from that because I'm bringing property values down. I live in a little trash corner here.
We could have
But
a series of RVs on all your neighbors' property. Like, call it a rustic Airbnb. I don't know. Do whatever you want with it.
pretty much, honestly, I feel like I'm inspiring a lot of the neighbors to get on that vibe too. Like there are more RVs
Just
popping up,
burn
but
your
it's
house down, start
like,
over.
pretty much. One of my neighbors came by and was like, I was telling my wife we should do something like this. He got let go from his job because he wouldn't get vaccinated. And he was like, I was saying we should sell the house and just like do an RV, go off grid like this. And I was like, honestly, do it. Like I love it. I recommend it.
You guys could just be like a bunch of gypsies, just like
just chilling out in the woods. Like I love it. Again, like I would recommend it to anybody, but I don't think anybody could live this lifestyle. So
it
that
takes
would
a
be my
certain
advice,
mindset for
like
sure.
strip it back, find what your basic can be. Like you're not gonna come out here with your Ontario house money and buy like 20 different animals that you can't actually care for. Like you need to build up to these things. So it's actually good to strip that dream back and start from very little and add little bits at a time, see what you can
Mm-hmm.
manage. Yeah, just like find what's in your means right now and do it. Get out there, figure it out, because yeah, it is like deeply, deeply rewarding. And there's no other way it's gonna happen unless you just do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and you don't have to go so like if you're, in Ontario or whatever major city, you don't have to go all the way to the other spectrum to be like in the middle of the woods. You can find that medium. Like that's
Mhm.
okay. And then once you're just like outside of the city, like plan a little bit ahead. Like cities typically get bigger. So like give yourself a good buffer.
Mhm.
And then once you're out of that you got to find that fringe zone, right? You can still have your job in the city. You just start changing your lifestyle, just little increments at a time, reducing your dependence on like the grocery store, Costco, going to Target, whatever. I mean, small adjustments like that over the course of a year, two, give it 5 years, and your life's going to look really different than when you first moved to that property. So it
Absolutely,
doesn't
yeah.
doesn't take a lot.
And I think of like people back home in Ottawa, like the Ottawa amalgamated a lot of the rural areas around it. So like you can still live in Ottawa and live kind of rurally. Like there are a lot of opportunities for people to just get like a little bit further out, a little
Hmm.
bit more homesteady, a little bit more sustainable, and like a lot of what inspired me to do this is I'm just like really, really into the concept of food sovereignty. And so if that's what inspires you, like try urban gardening. Like there's urban farming techniques. There are lots of different things that you can do to integrate that into your lifestyle, like bit by bit by bit. And like,
Hmm.
Paul Wheaton has the skip curriculum specifically for apartments. Like you can still learn and prepare yourself for these things and see if it's actually right for you living your life now. Like it can be incremental. Obviously I took like a huge plunge in coming out here, so who am I to talk about incremental,
But
but
you
I
were
also,
set up for it. Like you
yeah.
you were able to. So everyone has to like work within their means. Like you were able to take a giant leap forward. A lot of
And I
people
also
can't, and they got
started
to
with
figure it out.
nothing. Like I did this giant leap forward and like yes, I had basically what I needed, but I also didn't get chickens and rabbits and all these things all at once. I did go like really hard with the garden right away, but that was within my means for the year.
Hmm.
Like I work from home. It's easier for me to just like take a break and go shovel in buckets of compost and dirt into the raised garden beds. Like I had the ability to do that, so why not? But yeah, like work within your means, find what you can do, make changes, and just
Can you
do it.
tell? Can you tell people really quick what Paul Wheaton's skip program is?
Yeah, so skills to inherit property. It's like a very interesting set of tasks that you can do to prove that you are capable of homesteading, especially within like a permaculture lens. And once you get like enough of them done, there are these people that he calls Otises, who are people who want to will their property to somebody who will do what they want with it, basically. Like these are people who might not have children, who want to carry on the homesteading dream, and like they just want to save their property from becoming industrialized, like industrial egg or
Hmm.
development or whatever. And so they want to find somebody who's going to continue the lifestyle and what they have built on their property. And basically, yeah, they'll like will their property to you or have you come work with them and build the property until they're ready to retire and move and pass on or whatever. There are lots of different situations, a lot of different people who are Otises, and their situations are different. So yeah, you do these tasks, you get your badges to prove that you have these skills to inherit property, and maybe somebody goes, "Oh, this seems like somebody who would be great to inherit my property."
That is a great solution for a lot of people. That it bridges that gap where like I don't have access to land. Like, do, start learning stuff, and people just might hand you something, or
Mhm.
even if you have to pay for the property, like that was like a connection you wouldn't have had otherwise. So
And skills you wouldn't have otherwise, maybe.
that
Like
too.
you can learn a lot from the skip program. It's not like hand fed to you, it's kind of just assigned to you, and you have the responsibility to figure out like how to do these tasks. But that's really valuable. Like those research skills, learning and trial and error, like those are all really important, whether you buy a property or inherit a property or not. Like that opportunity
Hmm.
is really great to prepare you for homesteading. And yeah, I mean, like if we're talking about how to get started and just get out there and do it, like that's a great step forward. It's like test your skills, prove your abilities, and maybe someone takes note and actually gives you the property. Maybe you can't afford it, and that's fine.
Yeah, there's a solution out there. You just gotta get creative and figure out what your limits are. So
Yeah. And if there's anything I've learned from like living in the community I live in now is like people will just give you things. Things will just fall into your hands. So like
Yes.
if you put the work in and live your dream, like it'll happen. I believe that.
Well, I got to get ready for work, but
Yeah.
what can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so
Learn
you can
more.
find me on Twitter at LomiGirl15, Lomi like soil. Also have like TikTok and Tumblr and YouTube under that name, but I don't really use them yet. I don't really use my Twitter that much yet either. I will now that the growing
Sure.
season is impending. Yeah, that's mostly where you can find me. Also, like permies.com, I'm always kicking around there, obviously. So come check out, ask questions, find out how to homestead, and you'll get my emails every now and then.
Sure. I will. What drew me to you is that you're like, yes, it's at Lomi Girl 15, but your like name is Dirt Queen Soil Royal. I like it. That's funny.
Thank you. I like
So
it too. I love dirt.
I love dirt. It's good quality. So hey, I've appreciated your time, and this has been a really fun conversation. So
Yeah, thanks so
well,
much for having me.
yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you put out this year. So
Thanks. Likewise. Have a great day.
thank you. You too.